Hi folks, this is Gabor from gaborspeaks.com, and today I'm going to talk about coronavirus again. Hopefully for the last time, although I doubt it, because this thing is still going on and it doesn't really want to stop. I have the feeling it's kept alive somehow, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Of course, now my hair is growing. You might think that I am pretty crazy because I look crazy and like I'm an anti-vaxxer, conspiracy theorist, and certainly after my previous videos I was labeled as such. But hey, fair enough. Call me whatever you want. I actually ask you to look at what I'm saying and tell me how I am wrong. Because in the first video that I made, I argued that coronavirus is still there, but people are not really afraid of it. It has turned out that this is not a really dangerous virus, so against all efforts of government and social media, mainstream media, people are still less and less afraid. Now in the second video I argued that this is not a really dangerous virus. Of course many people say it's because of the lockdowns. Yeah, like with the lockdowns there were millions and billions and trillions of lives that were saved. Yeah, well, there are some cases that shows that this is not really entirely true, or at least unlikely. Anyway, that was the second video, and in the third video, of course in the second video I also argued that there are actually a lot of health implications, like for example rising suicides. That was a prediction in 2020, and that was already data that not just suicides are probably going to rise, but what is already rising is, for example, depression. So yeah, there are a lot of health implications to the lockdowns. And in the third video, I argued that there are not only health implications, but there are also really strict and severe effects on the economy. Right? And that's something that nobody really sees or nobody wants to talk about, even if they see them. And this is also something that we need to take into consideration, like how severe is the illness and what is it that we are ready to suffer for it economically and also with our health. Now, of course, at this point, we can also ask the questions, what is it that we could have done? Well, retrospectively, like, of course it's really easy to say like, oh my god, like with the data that I have, I would have done so much better than the government. Maybe I wouldn't have, but I think there were a couple of things that we could have seen. And I want to bring up the case of Hungary because I'm Hungarian and I saw what happened there. And what happened there, I think, is true for many countries. Maybe not all of them, but many of them. Is that first, the government saw that there is a new virus. And they were afraid, like, oh, what is going to happen now? I think they were sincerely afraid. So they just bought all the fucking ventilators that was there available on Earth. They overbought, like, I think many hundreds of percentages above capacity that was needed later. But of course, we didn't really know the virus, so I don't really hold that against them, because I would have done probably the same as the prime minister or the president in place of Orban. So just to give you concrete numbers, they bought 8,000 ventilators, and maybe we needed 1,500 at the peak times. So yeah, that was unnecessary. But fair enough. Nobody knew jack shit. So yeah, that's all cool. There was also this rumor that actually 20% of the people who get infected is going to the ventilators. So yeah, that was a pretty scary number. It was, like from thin air. That was just speculation, fear mongering, whatever you call it. It was bullshit. So yeah, and then that was the first wave. Well, Hungary was not touched by the first wave. There were, of course, a couple of people who died, but it's in the dozens, so it was really not affected that much, the country. And then for the second wave, there was a propaganda campaign saying that you have to prepare, you have to prepare. There will be a second wave, second wave, second wave. It's coming, it's coming, it's around the corner already. And then 1st of September, all the borders closed. 1st of September 2020, all the borders closed, nobody in or out, closed, and restrictions even before the wave started. Now the wave started somewhere mid-October, the second wave, and this was the time when I guess people were prepared. Who wasn't prepared? I was the government. Fortunately, the government always has somebody to point a finger to, like, yeah, it was those people, like the immigrants or the people who didn't wear a mask or whatever, like all kind of fuckery, like pointing fingers. But what's true is, for example, they raised the capacity, of course, of the ventilators, but they didn't raise the capacity of the stuff, so they didn't really have people to operate those ventilators, and the healthcare system was completely overwhelmed because they don't expanded the capacity apart from buying stuff, right? And in the current year, we still need people to operate things, but yeah, they didn't really care about that. So they didn't really care about the situation, the government, until March, where they gave a salary raise to all the workers that work in the healthcare industry. Well, it wasn't without a condition, and it wasn't without a scandal, because of the conditions that they could put each and every healthcare institution, also known as hospitals, and everywhere around the country. And people, the doctors and the nurses, they didn't have a choice. Like the government says, you have to go, and you get 50% of salary raise. Yeah, it's nice, but something for something in a pandemic situation, it's not really what you consider. Yeah, like I think the doctors, they do deserve it, because, for example, when I started working, that was 2012, my salary was almost as high as my mother's salary, who was working as a main physician in one of the small towns in Hungary. It's called Kapuvar, and my salary was almost the same as hers. So that's as a starter accountant. So, like, pretty crazy, pretty crazy. But yeah, it happened in Hungary. Yeah. So that's what it was. The capacities were not really raised, and the situation of the healthcare was really not that bright still, and there was really not much effort to put into healthcare, and not much effort or money that put into healthcare. It was just about pointing fingers and propaganda. And of course, Orban was building stadiums in the meanwhile, because, like, why the fuck not? We have to play football eventually. The pandemics is gonna be over, and then football is gonna be there. So I think what we could see during this pandemics is that Orban actually agrees with me that this virus is not really a big one, so we can use it just for political gains. We can scare people, we can make ourselves be heroes, saviors, like saving them from this deadly virus. And apart from buying some stuff, we don't have to do jack shit. Yeah? Like when that shit hits the fan, we can just say, like, oh yeah, that was a deadly virus. We did everything could. We bought the ventilators, we raised the salary in the end, and yeah, like everything was just for you guys. So appreciate it and do as we say. So that's really the government. I don't think that this happened only in Hungary. I think this is government in general, that they used the pandemics just as an excuse to introduce policies that they can control the situation, control people more and more. And there are some clues, of course, from the mainstream media abroad. For example, the China case, that's in the mainstream media last year, it was almost forbidden, censored to say that this virus was born in a laboratory. No, it was a bat. It was a bat that Chinese people ate, and then Chinese people just spread it all over the world. Oh, these careful bastard Chinese people who are not vegans, they should be vegans, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, like there was the virus laboratory just 10 kilometers from the outbreak, and that's you can't even discuss it. So what is this fuckery, please? What is this fuckery? If they lied, or if they censored this thing, the mainstream media, they censored the origins of the outbreak, what else is that they are censoring? I cannot really take this seriously, and I cannot really take it seriously when, for example, they talk about the vaccines as saviors, surefire saviors. You put the vaccine inside of your body and you will never be sick again, and you will cure yourself, and you can cure the rest of the world. Mwah. It's all bullshit. They don't know jack shit. Like, these vaccines are experimental vaccines. Maybe they have an effect. Probably they have an effect. What kind of effect they have? No one knows. There are probabilities. We will see eventually. So that doesn't really make me feel calm at all. At all. And another thing is that we might notice is that what is really, really scary is that for many people, life didn't change much. We are sitting in fucking computers, and we are sitting in in front of a phone like I am doing right now, and we don't talk to people. Maybe we have a spouse, right, a husband or a wife, maybe we have kids, and then that's it. We do the bare minimum when it comes to communication with other people, and then that's it. That's just pretty sad. We are putting ourselves in the matrix. And if there is a really huge advantage of coronavirus, is that boom, it should open our eyes that, guys, there's something wrong in here. There's something utterly fucking wrong in here. So yeah, that's what it is. So what is it that we should do? I think open our eyes and see that our lives are putting ourselves in the matrix, and that we are eating lies with huge spoons day by day, and we don't fucking know what is a lie and what is the truth. So this is pretty fucking scary. And what we are doing instead is that we are quarreling between each other. You know, like in the US, they are saying like, "Oh, you're black. Oh, you're white. You have to kill each other." And in Europe, we say like, "Oh, you're a fucking Nazi. Oh, you are a communist." And immigrant, not immigrant, white privilege. No. No. This is insanity, folks. And like what coronavirus should teach us eventually is that if there is a real pandemic, then the government will suck in it. There will be shitloads of people dying, and they will not do jack shit. And that they want us to quarrel each other with each other so that they can fulfill in their agenda who knows what it is. It's time to wake up, guys. This is Gabor from gaborspeaks.com.